What just happened in Brussels was not a diplomatic disagreement. It was a public demolition of German authority. Friedrich Merz, the man who promised to restore Germany's iron grip on Europe, was completely dismantled, not by bureaucrats, not by protesters, but by the one leader the EU establishment fears most, Viktor Orbán. Everyone expected a routine summit, the usual scripted speeches, the usual hollow talk of unity. But Orbán did not come to negotiate. He came to destroy the narrative. The tension in the room was so extreme that senior diplomats were reportedly left speechless. Cameras captured the exact moment Merz's face drained of color. Why? Because what Orbán said didn't challenge policy. It challenged legitimacy. Mainstream media is already trying to soften this moment, calling it an ideological disagreement. Do not believe that. This was a calculated strike at the heart of Berlin's failing industrial machine. Merz entered that chamber believing he still commanded Europe. He left it looking like a leader who no longer controls even his own coalition. Germany is struggling. Its economy is bleeding. And Orbán knows precisely where the wound is. He didn't block a proposal. He exposed a weakness, one that threatens the stability of the entire European Union. Is this the end of the Berlin-Paris power axis? Is the EU finally cracking under the weight of its own contradictions? And why are officials in Brussels terrified of what comes next? Merz believed he could dictate terms. He was wrong. And the cost of that mistake will not be paid by politicians alone. It will be paid by European taxpayers. Buckle up. You are about to witness the most humiliating diplomatic defeat of the year. To understand the magnitude of this collapse, we need to look behind the closed doors of the European Council chamber. This was never meant to be seen. According to leaked accounts from inside the room, the atmosphere was suffocating. Merz arrived with one mission: force the so-called Merz Stability Pact through the Commission. On paper, it sounded orderly. In reality, it was brutal. He demanded that member states, especially Hungary and Poland, immediately raise their contributions to the Collective Migration Defense Fund by 0.8% of GDP. Standing at the podium, Merz played the role Germany has relied on for decades: Europe's disciplinarian. He lectured the room on solidarity and shared responsibility. Then Orbán stood up. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't interrupt. He calmly produced a report from Germany's own Federal Statistical Office. And he dismantled Merz, line by line. Orbán looked him directly in the eye and asked a question no one else dared to ask. How can a man whose own country faces a 60 billion euro budget hole lecture others on fiscal discipline? Silence. Then Orbán went further. He cited Germany's collapsing energy policy, the shutdown of major chemical plants, permanent job losses in industrial regions. Germany's industrial output has now contracted for 4 consecutive quarters. While Berlin demands sacrifice from others, its own economy is once again being labeled the sick man of Europe. And then came the humiliation. Orbán revealed that the so-called Solidarity Fund was not primarily funding border security at all. According to leaked documents he held up in the chamber, nearly half of the funds were earmarked for bailing out failing NGOs linked to political allies of Ursula von der Leyen. Not solidarity, policy laundering, corruption disguised as governance. Attempts were made to interrupt him. Accusations of disinformation were thrown around. But the damage was done. Representatives from Italy, Slovakia, and the Netherlands began reviewing their notes. The consensus Merz thought he had evaporated in minutes. Then the numbers came out. Merz proposed fines of 20,000 euros per migrant for countries rejecting quotas. Orbán's response: a Brussels tax on EU officials earning over 150,000 euros a year to pay for the crisis they created. You can imagine how that landed. But the real earthquake came next. Orbán issued a warning. The incoming U.S. administration has no interest in dealing with a weak Berlin. Berlin is no longer the capital of Europe, he said. It is a liability. That was the moment German dominance officially cracked. For decades, Germany spoke, and Europe complied. That era is over. Merz was exposed as a leader without leverage. No financial authority. No moral authority. The meeting ended abruptly. No joint statement. No smiling press conference. Merz exited through a side door, avoiding questions. Think about what that means. The EU is built on the assumption that France and Germany lead, and others follow. But today, Hungary dictated the terms. The populist wave isn't approaching. It has arrived. Merz tried to project strength to stop voters bleeding toward the AfD. Instead, he demonstrated weakness. And in politics, weakness is fatal. The Stability Pact is dead. But the consequences are only beginning. Insiders say France is now quietly negotiating with eastern states, without Berlin. If true, the EU as we know it is finished. The illusion of unity under German leadership has shattered. Merz entered that room hoping to become the chancellor of cohesion. He left as the chancellor of decline. And if he cannot handle Viktor Orbán in a closed meeting, how does he expect to face Donald Trump in upcoming trade negotiations? How does he manage rising tensions with Russia? This leaves one terrifying conclusion. Germany is paralyzed. Europe's engine has stalled. And while Berlin debates deficits, others are rewriting the rules. They are no longer asking for permission. They are taking control. So here is the question the mainstream media refuses to ask. Is Viktor Orbán destroying European unity, or is he exposing a system that has already failed? Merz demands solidarity as his own economy collapses. Orbán refuses to fund policies he believes are destroying his country. Who is really acting in the interest of their people? Because if Germany falls, if the AfD surges further, the EU enters uncharted territory. The balance of power has shifted. Brussels is panicking. Paris is calculating. Berlin is weakened. And today, Hungary fired a shot that cannot be ignored. What do you think? Did Merz deserve this defeat? Or is Orbán playing a dangerous game that will reshape Europe forever?